Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video here on my channel. I know it's been a long time since the last video and I'm incredibly sorry. I originally intended to publish one of these lighter videos every single month, but now it's been, I think, 8, 9 months. I'm incredibly sorry. A lot of stuff has been happening. I was very busy despite the pandemic, or maybe because of the pandemic. So whatever. Now I'm back, and I guess it was worthwhile because in all this time I actually found another Dunhill Rollagas lighter, and I also found an original box for one of these lighters. So I think this is a better video for everybody. So I guess it was in fact worthwhile. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. I intended to make this the ultimate Dunhill lighter buyer's guide. So in this video, I'll show you how to do basic maintenance, what you have to look out for when buying one of these lighters, show you around them. I'll talk a little bit about what you should pay, what models there are, and generally just a little bit about the history. All right, so without further ado, let's get into it. So, I'll start with my personal Dunhill lighter story, and this starts with this one right here. I originally bought this from France, and I got it really cheap. So I got this for about 45 bucks, and it did not look like this. So you could barely tell that it was silver. It was completely black, oxidized, dirty. It was not working. The inside was really dirty. It was not good looking. That's how I got it so cheap, and it was also not working. I got it, cleaned it up. It turned out to look fantastic. As you can see, it's a little dirty inside right now because I've been using it a little bit. Yeah, absolutely beautiful. I then tried to make it work as well, and there turned out to be a lot more complicated. So I was able to fill it. So you actually fill these. So this is already a little bit going inside the simple maintenance. So you fill it by turning this. So you press on there, and then you turn it, and this pops out like this. And then this can just be pulled out. And there you see your valve, and this is how you refill it, basically, through there. So I refilled my lighter, and basically the second I refilled it, all the gas was coming out, but not where it's supposed to come out up here, but it came out right there through this adjustment valve. So I already knew I was sort of in trouble. The thing is, and that's the most important point with these lighters, they have a lot of seals. So there's a very complicated lighter inside, much more complicated than, say, on ST DuPont line 1. They are very complex lighters, and if the seals fail, it's basically unusable. But if you buy one and you're somewhat handy, I'm not the most handy guy on planet Earth, but I still managed to do it. And so on eBay, there is this place. I can only recommend it. That's his name, Dunhill, Vintage Dunhill Rollagas Collectors on eBay. I'm not sponsored or anything, but he basically sells these seals, reproductions, and one of these sets is, I think, $15-16. It's not a lot. It's definitely worth your money, and there is basically all you need. So you have these seals. So these are the big ones that go down here. But you basically never need these. The ones that are really important are these, because what you basically have to do, so they also give you this instruction here. This is called the needle valve. And this is basically where you have your biggest issue. This is the valve you can see down here, that right there. And so there is a seal on here, that fails. And then there's another seal right there. These are your biggest issues. These two seals are the ones that you have to replace, most likely. But it doesn't always have to be the case, as was with my second lighter that I just bought a few weeks ago. It was also not working, but there was a different issue with that one, but I'll get to this in just a second. I just want to finish the story on this one. So I replaced the seals, and boy did it make a difference. So there was no leaking anymore, but the lighter still didn't work. And thanks to this eBay set, and there's actually also an instruction in there how to set it. And this is really important because maybe your lighter, you think it's broken, you think there's a valve in there that's not working because the flames are about this tall. It is all about the adjustments with these lighters. So what do I mean by that? After you refill it, you have to basically turn this all the way up, because this is an on-fly adjustment right here. This is what makes these vintage Dunhill lighters so special. So turn this all the way up, and then you open it up, and most likely there will be gas literally spitting out of there, fluid gas. So you do not want to light that. That is basically you're holding a bomb in your hands. So you turn this all the way up, and then you take a small screwdriver and you work this valve. So you close it up, and then you check, and you always feel, can you feel the gas coming out? And when you don't, you can light it for the first time, and you see in this case, it's the perfect height, and then you can leave it right there. So it's all a question of adjustment. And also there are little springs in there, and there's also one in the set, I think, or they can be purchased. Oh yeah, see, there is one right there. So these little springs, you can either take them out or leave them in, and they can adjust the flame height. So if it's not working just by moving the screwdriver, moving the valve back and forth via screwdriver, that can be an option. So those are the most important points, but there can be another thing that is broken in your lighter, and that was the case with this beautiful enamel lapis blue. I don't know what it is actually, but it looks fantastic. So I also got this for about $50, and it was also sold as non-working, and I fixed it in an afternoon, and I didn't need anything out of the set actually. So what happened, and you might see this on eBay, so I'll try to give you a close-up of this. You see, so this is the needle valve right here. And many people, or if it's not used for a long time, it is stuck down there because that's basically its resting position, because it is pressed down by this little, so this is also, you see there's a little spring down there. So this basically presses down on this valve, and this is how it stops gas from escaping. But if it hasn't been used in a long time, which is frequently the case with these, the valve just stays put, and it's basically like soldered in there due to grime that was in there, or just time, humidity, and then it's stuck down there. And oftentimes that's basically the end of these lighters because people think it is broken, they can't get it out anymore. My tip, very carefully take some WD-40, one drop right there, take this valve out, more WD-40 down there where you have the needle valve, and just let it sit overnight, let it really go through there, and then really carefully put some cloth up here or some cotton, and then with a toothpick just try to very carefully press it down and maneuver it out, so the entire needle valve. And then as soon as you got it out, put it in some alcohol, and once again let it sit in there, flush it out, blow it out also, and then if you blow through it and you can feel the gas or your air coming out at the top, you freed it up again. And then basically all you have to do is, so this is what I did with this lighter. There was no need to replace the seals. I just took some of this basically lubricant here, or I don't know what ring grease, exactly, that's what you call it, ring grease. And I put some grease on there, and I filled this lighter up a few months ago, and it's working absolutely beautifully. So, and same with this. After I changed the seals, you see, now I messed with the adjustment. But what I want to say is that this lighter, I think I filled up in November probably, and so now it's today is the 31st of March, And yeah, you can tell there's still a lot of gas in here, and even though I haven't used it that often, so it's definitely working. So I can only recommend these. But enough of that. So now we've actually discussed some of the things that can go wrong with these and how you'd fix it. So let's actually take a closer look inside one of these, because I think this is really the coolest part. So if you open it up, you can see you have this little shock absorber right there. And I think that is the coolest thing ever. Obviously, it's also meant to keep the lid up, but it's extraordinary. Really, really beautiful. And then right here, you have this beautiful striking wheel. That's beautifully machined. As I already said, the spring loaded stop right there. And so if you, well, this also belongs to the service part. If you want to change your flint, press back on this, and you can see the flint compartment pops open and gives you access to the flint. I'm very particular about the flints that I use, because I think the right flint makes a big difference. I experienced this with the Cartier lighter, and if you go back to that video, I always recommend using OEM flints, also with ST DuPont. But here, I actually wasn't able to find any original flints at my local lighter shop, and they just recommended me to use the black ST DuPonts, also used in the Line 1 lighters, and they've been working absolutely beautiful. So both of these run on ST DuPont flints, and you can see, okay, so now there's something wrong with the adjustment. Okay, so now we got it back in business. So you can see lights on first strike absolutely beautifully, both of them. And that is something else that's important. As soon as you put in a new flintstone, clean up this striking wheel right here, and you're absolutely in the business. Then if you fix these lighter up once, if you change the seals, if you clean it up inside, these are some of the most reliable lighters I've ever had. Absolutely perfect. If these are well maintained, or if you maintain them just once or give them a proper service, they'll last forever. They outlast everything. So yeah, as with many expensive things, if you service them regularly, they'll be all right. Now, what different models are there? So these are both very similar. You can see a hinge is slightly different on them, but I suspect these are both late 70s, 80s, 90s, something around that. There are also ones from the 1950s, late 50s, 60s. They are different because they are oftentimes more rounded, both from their initial design and also from wear over the decades. Basically, you can also see that my silver one is a lot sharper on the edges than the gold and blue one, and that is just age and wear. And then in the 1960s, they also had one where as soon as you turned the striking wheel, it actually popped up automatically. That's quite cool. Those are really rare, but they do exist. And now these ones are actually the most wanted ones. So these are the ones that people are looking for, because they still have this right here. Whilst they do still sell Dunhill lighters today, they do not have this adjustment wheel anymore. And this was really one of the parts that made this lighter so popular, because just as I did before, while you were smoking a cigar, I got in cigarette position, let me turn it up slightly, and because this is differently adjusted right now, it doesn't work. But you see, because you saw it before in this one, you can just turn it up like this, and that was really one of the parts that made these so popular. And they've removed it. I think early 2000s, Dunhill went ahead and removed that and went to a more traditional adjustment on the bottom, like DuPont or Cartier, and that really annoyed a lot of the fans and drove them away to other brands, because this is really what made Dunhill so special. And they also made pipe lighters, and those are really, really wanted nowadays, because This is basically the favorite lighter for pipe smokers. And the difference is that this doesn't come out at the top, so the flame doesn't come at the top, but at an angle. And that is so they used to modify these. They had parts. There are a few businesses that did that, but Dunhill no longer provides the parts, and they have gotten increasingly rare. So if you actually find a pipe lighter Dunhill, get it, definitely. They're very wanted. Okay, so now let me go through my list here. What I want you to talk about. Yeah, so how much should you pay for one of these? Oh, well, it's quite hard to say. So I got both of these quite cheaply, and there is, as with everything, there is a huge price range. These are less expensive, mostly because of the style. So a lot of people do not want to have the enamel, the blue, the gold. Generally, gold ones are cheaper. There are lots of different patterns and all sorts of different things. Mostly the more flashy gold ones from the 70s and 80s, they're not as popular nowadays. This is probably one of the most popular or wanted nowadays because it is quite plain. It's silver. It has the adjustment wheel. This is one that would probably fetch, I'd say, about 200 US dollars or even more. This one is probably around the 120, 130 mark. You can get them for as little as I did, for as little as 40, 50, $60 if they're not working. And it can go all the way up to about well, 600-700 euros for limited editions, brand new ones, or new in box ones. Generally, it is always ones that still have the original box, and manuals, warranty papers are a lot more expensive because it was hard to find one of these boxes separately. So this one here is a I think late 1970s, late 80s one, and yeah, the quality is not that great. As a lot of British things in the late 1970s. So you can see her by appointment to Her Majesty the Queen, supplier of smokers. What does it say? Smokers requisite, Alfred Dunhill, London. So they were bragging with that they were the exclusive supplier to Her Majesty. Usually you'd have some manuals or warranty information right here. Unfortunately, this box did not have it, and this is where the lighter rests. So if you can get one with a box for about 130, 140, that's a great deal. So mostly I'm talking about these 1990s, 1980s, 1970s ones. They are the most common ones. As I've said previously, they also have some from the 1960s, but those are actually quite rare. So I've rarely seen them on the market. But usually they're a lot more worn down, and actually I think they're always gold. I haven't seen one that's not gold. So yeah, and yeah, that's basically it. A little bit about the history of this. I don't know if it's true, but I once heard that they, to make this, they called up a retired Swiss engineer that was super bored, and they told him, come up with the best lighter you can, and he did, and he came up with this super complicated shock absorber design that is absolutely beautiful, and everything is spring loaded, and everything is absolutely beautifully machined. There is no plastic. It is not a single cheap part in this lighter. And you can see it's also made in Switzerland, so it's Swiss made. So yeah, I can only recommend these lighters. If you get them, fix them up. They're absolutely indestructible. Absolutely beautiful lighters, very reliable once fixed up. As I said about a gazillion times by now. Let's sum it up. If you find one for about 130 bucks in box, gold, silver, whatever, find a pattern that you like, go for it. There are fakes out there, but mostly of the newer ones If you take a close look, and they're machined beautifully, yeah, they look like this. They have the shock absorber. They'll probably be legit. You know, the ones that produce counterfeit lighters or counterfeit luxury goods, they mostly look to produce things that are quite easily replicatable, like t-shirts, handbags. This costs them a fortune to make. To get all the machinery, to get this all right, it'll probably cost them more than what they're able to sell it for. So yeah, it's highly unlikely that you find a fake one, and if you do, it'll be easily spottable. Okay, I already see this video is over 20 minutes. I'm incredibly sorry. I'm just rambling on at this point. So we're gonna stop it right here. Stay tuned for the next video, because that will be the grand comparison. Dunhill, Cartier, and Estée Dupont, which one I'd go for, what they're good for. So stay tuned for that. I hope you don't have to wait another 9 months for that. I'm working on it. But until then, have a good one, and keep on searching for bargain luxury lighters. Thanks for watching. Bye.